the 5th annual Snowmobile Roundup. Over 3,500 snowmobilers had come to ride the trails of Yellowstone and to watch the races of the North American Championships of Snowmobiling. Then came the morning of March 14th, 7 a.m. To many in the crowd that gathered, it was just an exciting event, the World Championship Drag Race. Their main question: would this be the day that the magic 100-mile-an-hour mark would be shattered? But to those of us at Polaris, it was the moment of truth, the culmination of a year's effort. Our main question: would this be the day of the X2? As the day began, it was apparent that we at Polaris shared two things with the other manufacturers: anxiety for the day, born of months of hopes during the engineering and testing of these race machines, and curiosity for what the other guy had up his sleeve. For months, we'd all kept our designs under wraps. Now it was time to put them on the line, time to see which of us might break the existing world speed record of 95.33 miles per hour. More than that, which of us might crack that 100-mile-an-hour mark? A lot of those early morning eyes were on Skidoo and its twin-engine Eagle, and on the current record holder, Duane Eck. The yellow colors of Skidoo could just taste that 100-mile mark, and so could the rest of us. Every major manufacturer was there. The black and purple of Arctic Cat with its fuel injection engine, a special machine with a Honda motorcycle engine, Mercury with a special machine with 3 megaphones extending out the right side of the engine compartment. And we were there too, with our X2. Believe me, a lot of those Polaris men in blue were much more nervous than their smiles suggest. They'd put in endless hours on the X2. Men like Mike Baker of Roseau, Minnesota, Bob Eastman, the head of our Polaris racing team, and the X2's main design engineer, Darrell Courtwright. The Polaris X2 got its name because it uses two 795cc engines, a standard racing engine for Polaris. X2 means times 2. Thus, X2. Our goal in its design: to build a machine that would stay together with that kind of torque, but be light enough to set the world speed record in the high altitudes of Yellowstone. In an hour, we'd know if we'd succeeded, or if we'd have to wait until next year. Looks like that little fellow in the black and red of Rupp is wondering the same thing. Our prime driver, Mike Baker, had more than a little interest in the Skidoo Twin Eagle. There's no sense denying it. We wanted to beat Skidoo in the worst way. A lot of interest was saved for the sleek Sonic Challenger, a special jet-powered sled without a track, just 4 skis. It was reported to have gone 100 miles an hour in a practice run, but no one could testify it had really gone that fast. Before the day was out, they too would have their chance to prove their point and their machine. Everyone was really looking it over that gray Saturday morning as the colorful chutes were packed, then packed again, and again, and again. Guess you can't be too careful when you're as pretty as the sleek jet sled. Finally, word came to the staging area that the start time was near. The timing lights and judges were in place. Last-minute preparations, last-minute picture-taking, last-minute advice, and a lot of last-minute butterflies. Record holder Eck checked his skis. He'd be the second man down the chute. As for the X2, every man in blue suddenly seemed to act like a nervous father. Check, recheck, move it into position, and then tell you what, let's check again. The crowd grew as expectant as we were. Even the governor of Montana was there. And here we go. A Frenchman from Quebec from the Skidoo factory team made the first run. His time in the early 90s. Eck's record still stood. Now the record holder himself took off on his first run. And disappointment. The 100-hour mark was still a dream, but not for long. Arctic Cat's turn. Marvin Odie. 102.5 miles an hour. A little edge was off the X2 team as they positioned it for its run. As they checked and rechecked again. Courtwright was ready, and the X2 took off. Down the half-mile course and through the speed traps it went. A new world's record, 104.52. But the day wasn't over. Mercury made its first run. Then Honda. And Eck tried again. The X2's record still stood, but Polaris wasn't satisfied with the time. Mike Baker's turn. Ready? Go. Baker makes his run. When Baker hit the lights, 109.90 miles an hour. Suddenly, the men in blue weren't blue at all. Even our sales manager had a big smile. But the happiness was short-lived. Skidoo sent an eagle down the track with a girl, Carol Delanio, driving. She went 102.62 for a new world's record for women, and quite a mark in itself. Polaris's answer? Find a woman to drive the X2. Let's go after that mark, too. Dorothy Mercer from Lake Tahoe, Nevada, looked a little skeptical as we first broached the subject, and then more than a little skeptical as she found herself on the start line. She'd never been on the X2 before, but she'd agreed to give it a go. Talk about advice. Everyone had some for Dorothy. Only the X2 didn't try to tell her how to do it. It must have sensed Dorothy would do her own thing quite well. Off they went. Time to wait again. And time to shout again. 107.01 miles per hour. Dorothy's skeptical look was now all smiles. She had the woman's record, and she could prove it. What a gal. But the day wasn't over. Everyone kept taking their shots at breaking our two records. Finally went 100.78, but it was not enough. The X2 made one more run and for the fourth time broke the 100-mile-an-hour mark, as Leroy Lindblad went in excess of 106 miles an hour. Now it was the jet sled's chance. Would the X2's mark go up in that cloud of jet stream smoke? No. The jet went 74 miles an hour. The last run had been made until next year, when we'd all be back trying to crack Mike Baker's 109.9. It had indeed been the day of the X2.